Now imagine your entire life captured on social media, from your first in utero scan to your first steps, your first day at school, and so on and so forth and stuff like that, without your consent. Now this growing phenomenon is called sharenting, and it's slowly taking the world by storm. However, it is not just a snap, post and like, as this can make children vulnerable to possible nefarious intentions of strangers. Now, to tell us more about the reality faced by today's kids who find themselves victims of what's arguably the greatest mass privacy violation of all time, we're joined by Liezel Gordon, and she is the Client Engagement Team Lead at Metropolitan GetU. Liezel, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning, Simpriwe. Thank you for having me.
I was having this conversation off camera with Lebo, how an interesting subject this is. What is sharenting?
Absolutely. Sharenting is the fusion of literally the words parenting and sharing. And it defines what we do on social media in terms of sharing every special moment about our lives, our children, online, and really with good intention and by well-meaning family members.
Let's talk about what parents should know about sharenting.
So I think the important thing is that there's many risks, but there's also many positives associated with sharenting. And the important part is really knowing what those are and educating yourself, being informed around what are these risks and what can you do to, limit those risks. That's the important part. I think sharenting is really a way for us to express not only what happens in the lives of our children, but also our own lives, as we so closely linked, intimately linked. So I think the big thing is saying, what is that? If I can put it, balance between your freedom to expression versus your child's right to privacy.
Yeah. Why do parents do that, though? I mean, why is it becoming so popular?
So the social media has really become the old photo album for us. The problem with social media is that your audience is just so much greater than it was when someone visited you and looked through that photo album. So I think this is the important part, is saying that, how do you make sure that you are able to share all those memories and all those special moments, but do it in a responsible way. And I think the important part here is to make sure that you are aware of your privacy settings, you are aware of who sees and who interacts with the content that you post out there. But I also think, in addition to people just wanting to share, I think the likes, the positive comments, the fact that people share your content, it becomes sort of addictive, especially if the feedback is very positive. And we tend to post the good times, the positive times. So, it's great to get that feedback when you do put something out there.
And what are some of the massive risks attached to this growing phenomenon, if at all?
So I think, as much as we've got the good intentions, sometimes you post something that might be slightly of a sensitive nature, and it might be very, very innocently meant, but you never know how that is reused later on.
Yes.
In, for instance, someone who wants to bully your child.
Yeah.
Taking that content and then sharing it further, and then it's near impossible to get rid of the content once it's out there. Another example of where it can be bad for you, or where there's a massive risk, is if you put something out there and people comment negatively. It even leads to cases where there's mental health issues, where people start feeling depressed because of what's shared out there. And then I think worst case scenario for me, and the scariest part is, depending on what you share, it could even lead to abduction or trafficking.
And I suppose it also creates unnecessary pressure on parents, to project a certain image on social media, a certain image about their own child or their own children. Let's now talk about, some of the ways in which parents can use social media responsibly when it comes to their kids.
Yeah, I think the big thing is to be aware of who can access what you're sharing online. Maybe make sure you tighten your privacy settings, make sure who the groups are that your children are interacting with if they get to that age where they start using the internet and social media themselves. Try to avoid publishing content of a sensitive nature, even if you mean it very innocently. The problem is if it starts being spread, it's impossible to pull that back. Another tip would be to prevent sharing anything that's really identifiable location-wise or where your child might find himself. You know, things like the school that he attends, things like his schedule. It's easy for people to locate your child if that information is publicly available. And then I think very, very, very important is instilling digital literacy from a young age, you know, so teaching your children how to be responsible around social media. How do you use it for good?
Right.
And make sure they understand the risks and be a present parent, you know, establish boundaries so that while they're learning how to use social media, it's in a controlled environment where they get taught responsibly.
Are there any legal steps, perhaps, that a child can take against the parent when they feel like details about their lives shared online are trumping their own right to privacy?
So, Simpiwe, there's a lot of talk and discussion around this. I think it's a difficult topic because of this, you know, the play between your right to freedom of expression and the child's privacy. And I think there's a lot of discussion around that. I'm not a legal expert, so I don't want to comment on the steps that can be taken, but if you go online, you'll see there's really a lot that's being done. And already in certain legislative pieces, this is written in, that the child's right to privacy.
And having said that, does the POPI Act apply to such instances?
Absolutely, it does.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, Liezel, great chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Keep well. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. That's Liezel Gordon, Client Engagement Team Lead at Metropolitan GetU, and we've been speaking to her about the dangers associated with what's a phenomenon called Sharenting.